it is the cause, my soul. Let me not name it to you. You chase stars, it is the cause. Yet I'll not shed her blood nor scar that whiter skin of hers in snow and smooth as monumental alabaster. Yet she must die, else she'll betray more men. Put out the light, and then put out the light. If I quench thee, thou flaming minister, I can again thy former light restore should I repent me. But once I put out thy rose, I know not where is that Promethean heat that can thy light relume. I'll smell thee on the tree. Oh, balmy breath, thou dost almost persuade justice to break her sword. One more, one more. Be thus when thou art dead, and I will kill thee and love thee after. One more, and that's the last. So sweet has never been so fatal. She wakes. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Too Good to Be Drew. I am your host, Drew Davis, aka Uncle Drew. And what I just gave you was a small snippet of what I learned in acting school. And now that part is me trying to do my best Denzel impersonation and play Othello in what is it? Yeah, that's the same play. In the play Othello. I played Othello. And that is some Shakespeare right there. And that is what helped me on my acting journey to be more creative, to fall more in love with the process, and also to fall more in love with my voice. And that's what we will be talking about today. We'll be talking about getting comfortable with your voice. And so this will be great for anybody who is a little bit afraid or just not confident in what their voice sounds like or being able to speak. But more so than that, it'll be talking about what I learned in acting school, why I went there, why I enjoyed it, and also a lot of the things that I take with me doing speaking engagements and also just talking to you guys on this podcast. So, once again, it's great to have you guys here. Hope everybody's been well, and we are going to jump right into it. But you guys know how we do. It's the start of the week. And so I always like to reach into my cup, pull out a quote, and give you guys some inspirational words. And I'm currently holding in my hand one of my favorite quotes. It speaks a lot to why my personality and why my approach is the way it is. And the quote reads: The pessimist complains about the wind, the optimist expects it to change, the realist adjusts the sails. William Arthur Ward. Man, so in this life, you have pessimists, you have optimists, and you have realists. I really try to do my best to stay away from people that are pessimistic. There aren't that many in my friend group, and I say not that many because we can't stop all of them. You know, some of them slip through, some of them sneak through, but outside of that, those are the people that you want to try to have an effect on. You want to try to help them come to the other side and not be so pessimistic. Now, is that 100% your job? No, it most definitely is not. But if they don't have anybody to help them, or if they don't have any friends to kind of help them see that there's a different way of thinking, they're going to continue to think how they are. But at the end of the day, we know that there are just some people that that's how they operate, that that's how they're able to, make sense of the day or make sense of things that are happening to them. And we pray for those people night and day. We pray, pray, pray. So the pessimist, then we have the optimist. I love the optimist. They can be a little bit much sometimes because they're always trying to find the good in every situation. And there are some times that you want to vent. There's some times that you just want to talk stuff and just, hey man, just let me be me, man. Let me just have this moment to vent and to not talk about the good things that can happen from this. Let me talk about what's wrong with this situation. Let me talk about why I'm upset. Let me talk about why this isn't fair. I don't always want to be looking at the best or the opposite side of the thing that we're going through. Sometimes I just want to be, let me sit in it for a minute. Let me get out of it. But those are some great people to have around you because they can really show you what the world can be if you look at it through a different lens. And when you're looking at the world through the lens of an optimist, instead of looking at the glass as half empty, you look at it as half full. Instead of saying, hey, that guy's ugly, you look at it and say, you know what? He does have some pretty beautiful eyes and he does have a good sense of humor and a good personality. And maybe you come across somebody where they're like, oh man, that fart stinks. And then you got somebody like, you know what? I've smelled worse. There's far worse farts than that. So that's not the worst one I've smelled in my life. So can't be that bad. You have people like that that are meant to be put around you to kind of help balance you out. And then the last one is a realist. I'm a realist. I'm gonna look at some things, I'm gonna be like, yo, this is very, very bad. Then there are other things that I'm gonna be like, you know what? This is very, very good. But I'm always gonna try to shoot it straight. And there's times where I just won't say anything. Like I said, and being in the boat of the other two, where there are sometimes you don't like to be around a pessimist all the time. You don't like to be around an optimist all the time. You don't like to be around a realist all the time. So just find out where you fit in and find out what is your social makeup or what is your makeup as far as where you sit in those three areas. Are you the pessimist? Are you the optimist? Or are you the realist? Know the pros and cons of those and accept those with open arms. And if you're not happy with where you sit, don't be afraid or ashamed to try to put yourself in a different area or a different box and kind of remake that potential side of you. But it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to try to jump from a pessimist to an optimist, from an optimist to a realist. I definitely wouldn't say go from a realist to being a pessimist, but maybe you could jump from being a realist to an optimist where you're like, you know what? Maybe I don't need to talk about what is actually happening, what is actually going on. Maybe I just need to be more optimistic and put the things into the universe that I want to see come back. And that's a big step in itself. You guys heard at the beginning of this episode me give you guys some bars from my play in Shakespeare and Othello. And I talk and I rehearse that line often. There's times I'm going for a walk, or there's times I'm prepping for an episode. And to get my voice right and to get my voice ready, I'll go through that whole thing. I'll say it slowly, I'll say it really fast. I'll try to not say the whole thing on one breath, or I like to see the least amount of breaths I can take throughout the whole thing, without draining my lungs too much to the point where I'm pulling when I'm inhaling. Whole bunch of stuff that I learned from my vocal coach. So that's next level stuff. But what I want to talk about is just getting comfortable with your voice. Acting school really helped me get comfortable with my voice. And if you're listening to this, you're going to be like, well, how the hell is Drew going to tell us or Drew going to tell me how to get more comfortable with my voice when he wasn't even comfortable with his voice? I'm still not 100% comfortable with my voice, to be honest, but I've learned to accept it. I've learned to accept it because my voice isn't going through any major changes at the age of 36. I'm not going to get some lungs like Morgan Freeman or Denzel Washington or any other voice actors that you can think of. But the point I'm trying to make is your voice is your voice. And honestly, the only people that really, really have a problem with our voice are ourselves. I remember back in the day when I would hear my voice on an answer machine and I would cut it off right away. And I'm like, oh no, ooh, we can't hear none of that. I don't want to hear any of that. Oh my gosh, who is that right there? Because we don't sound how we think we sound. We sound way different to ourselves than when we hear ourselves. And that could be a little bit frightening, but it's also a mental hurdle to get over. I went to acting school and we had to watch ourselves on film and we had to record ourselves with a voice recorder. And we kind of had to do all these things. We had to read a book where we learned about the voice and the qualities that we possess in our voice, what makes a good voice, or better yet, what makes a voice worth listening to. And a lot of that sometimes is within the voice itself, but sometimes it's the things that we can do with our voice, with our speech, with our patterns that helps us become more enjoyable for the listener. And I think those are big distinctions to make. But in the end, it's up to you to get comfortable with your voice because you have to come on here on your podcast, on your show, in meetings. You have to be the one that talks and that you're comfortable with what you say, how you present it, and the flow that you give it in. One of my favorite things to do is I really like to watch great speakers and great orators because there's all these different styles you can use. It's like a fight. And you think about a boxing match. You know, Floyd Mayweather does a lot of defensive tactics. He's one of the best defensive fighters that you'll ever see. He's one of the best counter punchers that you'll see. Mike Tyson is one of the best brawlers, the best power punchers, where he gives you this uppercut that can take you out at any second. He's not playing much defense because he's on the offensive and he's attacking. And then there are a lot of guys that are in between that slowly find out, what am I really good at? What do I like doing? What fighter am I going against? But looking at speakers, they're all different types of speakers. And once you find your groove or once you find your niche or the thing that you're known for, or the thing that you build as your calling card as being a speaker, you fall into that flow and you continue to get better. But you're like, yo, this is what I do. Barack Obama is really measured when he talks. And although I don't and try to stay away from filler words and like and as, Barack does a great job with being able to pause and build silence. You know, when a lot of people, when they imitate him or they doing their impression of him, they do a lot of ums because he does a lot of ums, but they work great for him. And so I'm getting into the technicalities of the voice and the speaking and everything, and I'll double back. But I was just bringing up a couple examples because as I get rolling, when you start to rolling, baby, you don't stop the bus when it starts going, man. You just let it go. And so just speaking about the voice, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about my own voice. And the more I've heard it, when I first heard my voice on a consistent level, I didn't like how nasally it was. My voice is like really like up in my throat area, or I should say up in my nasal area. I feel it like it's a lot up here. And I always thought I sounded a lot smoother than I actually sounded. And so when I heard my voice, I was like how can I change that? How can I adjust that? But then when I was at acting school, when we first got there, we did all these exercises and our classmates had to go around and say things about us. And a couple of my classmates were like, "Yeah, I would listen to an audiobook from you." And I was like, "Word?" I was like, "Yeah. Your voice is real calming, it's real measured. The texture of it, the quality of it's really good." So then after that, I started, puffing out my chest a little bit more. Okay, I got something here. But it still took me to get used to it and the nuances of my voice to be able to enjoy it. Now, I will say I don't enjoy my voice. I will tolerate it. I think there's a difference. I will tolerate it. When I'm editing this show and these podcasts that I'm doing before I post it, I'm listening to my voice at like 0.125 or zero point 0.5 as far as speed goes. So I really don't have to listen to it. And I kind of sound like a chipmunk. And so that makes it a little bit easier. But I also go back and listen to all my episodes to see what I did well, what I didn't do too well, what I could improve on, what words that I kind of swallowed, or what words that a listener might not know. Like, hold on, what did he say right there? Like, I can't understand them. So I listen to my voice in order to get better with pronunciation, with clarification, with, I said pronunciation, pronunciation. Oh, there it is. Articulation. My bad, y'all. Had a quick brain part. Articulation and punctuation and things like that. Because I want these things to be really good. And the better you are at speaking for your show or whatever it might be, the more clarity you can bring your listeners or your audience to where they can understand you. And so you're enjoyable in that way. Because one of my biggest gripes with podcasts or shows is when I can't really understand what somebody said. And I might take time to rewind and listen to the word again or put the subtitles on to find out. But that's a lot of work. We're lazy these days, if you didn't notice. We're lazy and we don't want to have to do too much work. We want people to do the work for us. And so as we talk more about the voice, like I said, mine is nasally. It is a little bit low. Like I know I have a little bit of a country twang to it a little bit. My mom's from South Carolina. And so with my voice, if I wasn't doing this show or this podcast, I usually talk pretty fast. I usually talk pretty fast. Most of my homeboys talk real fast. And I think it's important to notice that we all have a rate at which we talk. And I think being knowledgeable at the rate we talk is very important because you never want to sit down and do a show or have a conversation and you're just all at one speed. You think about your favorite movie or your favorite show or your favorite monologue or your favorite line. And if you look at that and you study it, you can see there's a lot of color, a lot of range. There might be some fast talk. They might break it down and go slow. They might give you some silence built in there. And these aren't qualities of the voice, so I'm getting ahead of myself, but stick with me. But there is a process, there is an art to it. Just like I did there, I just slowed down. I said there is an art to it. Your ears perk up a little bit more. When somebody's talking really fast and you got to keep up and you're following really quick, and then when they take time to slow down, to drop their voice a couple octaves, it becomes a little bit more important to you because it messes up the flow or it changes the flow, not messes it up. It changes the flow of what you're hearing to being like, oh, this might be an important part. I might need to write this down. I might need to remember this. Oh, he's going really fast. So he's really just saying a bunch of things. Okay, I can't really follow. Oh, he paused right there. He's creating anticipation. He's building in suspense. just like I did right there. You're probably like, "Oh, did my podcast stop? Like, what the heck happened?" Like, but those are like some small intricacies of the voice. And I spoke about it in previous episodes of why I was afraid or hesitant to start a podcast because there are some podcasts I would listen to and I'd be like, man, I can't stand these people's voice. And there'd be times I push through it and I continue to listen, or there'd be times I just gripe and complain. But a lot of what I was doing is I was taking notes on how I didn't want to be with my show, knowing that a lot of people were going to listen to this or be listening to this when they want to go. I wanted it to be something that they enjoyed, something that, and I've gotten a lot of good feedback on my voice, which I appreciate. People like, man, you got a great voice. A couple of people have said your voice is so soothing. When I turn on your podcast and I listen to your show, I'm just kind of lulled to sleep. Now, I don't want to lull you to sleep because I want you to listen to the episodes and take away some things and listen to what I have to say. But that is one of the biggest takeaways from people that have been reaching back to me is that your voice is really soothing. And I appreciate that. And so, although we can't really help what our voice sounds like, and although we can't help what our voice really sounds like deep down, that's the voice we were given, unless you have like a vocal cord issue like Young Jeezy had back in the day when it was him versus Gucci Man, and he had surgery on something, but neither here nor there. But your voice is how your voice is. But you can do a lot of different things around your voice that can help it. A lot of different techniques with, like I said, with volume. Sometimes you get really loud and you talk and you get, and then sometimes you just drop and you drop it to a whisper. So you take it up and down with volume. Speed, go fast, go slow, go medium. One of the biggest things I like to do is I like to throw in silence. Pauses help me as far as what I'm doing to gather my thoughts and to drive home a point, but it also helps my listeners because they've had this small little bit of dead space that they're like, hold on, what happened? Like, did he say something important that I need to write down? Or is he about to deliver something of great importance? Clarity and quality of the voice is good. Like I said, pronunciation, articulation. There's times that I'm washing over my words and I'm like, all right, Drew, you either got to slow down or you got to really try to hit the big parts of a word and slow down to do it, but also just things like that. Taking out filler words can help you. And that's one big reason why I try to build in pauses because I don't want to do a lot of likes, as, and to tell you guys the truth, as I've been studying myself, I say like a lot. And slowing down and pausing helps me to not start a sentence with like or and or and those are regular functions of speaking. I don't want anybody to get mad or upset. Or when you really look into speakers and orators or people's shows that you really, really like, there's probably a delivery that they give you that makes it enjoyable, that makes it digestible. And that's what I want this show to be. I want people when they come in here to say, you know what? Drew is really concise in what he does. He doesn't waste many words. He says some dad jokes that aren't very good, but we can get over that part. But what Drew brings when he turns on that microphone and he comes into this show, I walk away with not having to listen to him for an hour, but maybe that's 45 minutes where I can lock in because I know the message he sends is tight. And also just the quality of his voice and the way that he does things makes me listen to what he's doing. So if you tuned into this episode, you tuned into it because you want to come away with some things too. So a way to get more comfortable with your voice. You can stand in front of the mirror and talk. That's a good way. Stand in front of the mirror, talk, whether you're giving a speech, whether you're saying your favorite movie lines or your most memorable movie lines, whether you're just talking off the top of your head. One way that'll help you is because it'll let you see your mannerisms of how your mouth moves. And it's very important to see when you're saying certain words or certain vowels or combinations of string of words, which ones you might struggle with, which ones you like and sound really good on the tip of your tongue. But also you can see how your mouth moves when you talk. Sometimes my mouth goes all the way to the right side and I kind of just start talking out the side of my mouth a little bit. Sometimes that's with this show that's like, I think strategically or just mentally with the microphone being on the right side, I want to make sure I'm talking to that microphone. And sometimes my lips do that. But also, my lips have done that way before. If I'm standing in a group of people and I'm talking to somebody that's on my right or my left, I might kind of direct my lips towards them and kind of just talk in that way because I'm talking to the side. But also, I'm black. So, we just got all these nice mannerisms that we do as black people. We just got all these small subtleties about ourselves that make us us. So, talking in front of the mirror is one. Number two, recording yourself. I have on my voice memos app on my iPhone. My friend and I wanted to get better at reading. And so what we do is we pretty much turn on the notes app while we're reading and we'll read a paragraph or two and we'll send them. And we've been doing this now for the last 2 years. So there are times I sit down and I read a book and I'll just record voice memos of 5 or 10 at a time. And every day I'll just send him one for whatever book I'm reading, magazine, speech I'm giving, or something of that nature. And we'll give each other feedback a little bit. Now, neither of us is experts, but we just wanted to get more comfortable with our voice and also with reading. Because there's some of y'all out there that y'all still don't read out loud. Y'all were the people in high school that when it came to popcorn reading, that y'all used to run out of the room. Hey, Miss Tracy, I got to go to the bathroom. You ain't got to go to the bathroom. You just don't want to get called on to read because you're going to struggle out loud. So if you are one of those people, get more comfortable with reading by recording yourself, by reading out loud. This society, we don't read that much anymore. The average American citizen reads 12 books a year. The average. I'm at what? I'm at 15 already so far this year. Like I'm not trying to do anything average. But if one book a month for American people is all we can do, I'm afraid for our future. So we got to keep putting those books in our hands. So sitting down, recording yourself while you're reading or just recording your voice and listening to it. That's the biggest thing. Not just recording it, but listening to it. Because it'll be easy to record. I know people that can talk all day. But when it comes to sitting down and listening to it and seeing what your voice sounds like and what qualities you like and don't like, I think that's a very important thing. And now don't just record your voice and sit down and listen to it and tell me all the bad things you don't like about your voice. Because truth be told, the majority of people don't like their voice. I learned in acting school that the majority of actors don't like seeing themselves on the big screen. They don't like watching themselves back do scenes. Like it's hard to sit there and watch yourself act because you point out all of your flaws. So instead of you sitting there and pointing out all your flaws and what you don't like about your voice and what's hard about it, find the good things. Ask somebody else, hey, what do you like about my voice? What do you like about my mannerisms that I do when I speak? That can help you a lot too. And then lastly, to get more comfortable with your voice, I would tell you to talk about things that you enjoy talking about. Talk about things you are passionate about because then you can really see like what your voice is like when you're talking about things that you really enjoy. And I don't know if you're creating a podcast or if you're creating a show, but that show sounds different when you're talking about things that you really enjoy versus you're trying to give some digestible information on a study you've done. Like me, when I start to talk about helping people and mentorship and football and reading and books and something I took away and authors, like listen, I start to rise up like things that I start to hit on because my brain starts going 100 miles an hour. And now I'm like, yo, like, oh man, I got to talk about this. I got to talk about that. I got to talk about that. And those are the sweet spots for me is talking about those things. And also, I've really liked doing this show because I've had to sit in a room by myself and keep myself entertained, but also knowing that I'm talking to somebody as I'm recording these episodes and I'm talking to somebody down the line. And I got to know, how do I keep them awake? How do I keep them interested and invested in this show that I'm doing? And not just listening to it because they're my friend or just because they want to support, but because I'm providing value for them. So your voice being good and your voice being digestible is a plus, but you also want things that pull out the best qualities in you. And so if you're talking about things that excite you, things that you love, people that you love, causes that you're passionate about, you're going to get your real 100% authentic self that shows up when this camera turns on or when this microphone comes on or when you're recording yourself. And that's going to be the best material for you to be able to pull from to say, okay, my voice is like this. Oh, I like when my voice gets really high when I talk about this. Oh, that might be a characteristic of my voice and of my delivery that I try to give people. And I think that's one of the best things you can do for yourself is to really find out where your groove is at, how to stay in that groove, and how to exploit it for the betterment of you and the things that you're pursuing. So as we close out, there's a lot of things that you can do with your voice, a lot of technique things you can do to implement to make your delivery of your voice better. But at the end of the day, your voice is your voice. And honestly, to get more comfortable with your voice, the person that has to do that is you. The world is going to be able to judge it if they want to. But if you turn on the microphone and you feel at peace with how you come across and what your delivery is, that's the only thing that matters because we're what I think we're 25 plus episodes in with my show. I'm glad I got to this point. I can't imagine getting to episode 50 and 75 and 100, but it's going to happen. And I know my 100th episode is going to sound a lot different than my very first episode. And that's okay. That shows growth. That shows maturity. That shows being an expert and knowing what I'm talking about and knowing my content and what I want it to be. So I hope you get comfortable with your voice. And I hope you continue to spread the message on helping people be more confident in themselves and what they bring to the table. Thank you guys for tuning in. That is another episode of Too Good to Be Drew, getting more comfortable with your voice. I hope you guys put these things into action. And I hope you guys stay healthy and have a great, fantastic, stupendous week. Stay healthy.